My name is Mark Lange-Heinrich. I'm a professor for computer science here at the Faculty of Informatics. My background is in IoT, pervasive computing, and security and privacy. And I'm one of the co-directors of this program. This is an interdisciplinary program, so it's co-directed by professors from computer science and from the Institute of Finance here at USI. So we call this actually our FinTech Master. And so this is kind of a buzzword that you probably heard a lot in the press in recent years. And so what's this FinTech all about? With a few words, this is how banking looked like maybe just 10 years ago. If you want to do banking, you had to go to the branch office of your bank and fill out little forms and wait in line and so forth. Fast forward to today, and this is how people do banking today. I wonder how many of you have actually set foot inside a physical branch office ever. I certainly haven't for at least 5 years. So FinTech promises to revolutionize the entire way we do banking, including, of course, the customer experience. So because of more and more banking happening online, not in a physical bank, so-called neobanks have been growing at an incredible rate. Here are just 3 examples of pretty big and probably well-known neobank. There's the Monzo, there's Revolut, and there's Starling Bank, 3 examples from the UK. There are also examples in Germany, in Switzerland. And so these are banks that do away with branch offices. They do mobile-only banking. And they've really been shaking up the entire banking industry in this way. In a special report on banking in 2019, The Economist looked at the huge changes that were afoot in the banking sector, right? And they write that the biggest 4 American banks are spending a total of over $25 billion a year on perfecting better customer applications and learning to mine data more cleverly. Venture capital firms invested an additional $37 billion in upstart financial firms last year. This is a huge change. It's a sea change in how banking is done, not only in the front end, how consumers experience banking, but also in the back end, how banking is actually done. So clearly, FinTech is revolutionizing the banking industry, but not only the front-facing mobile banking payments like the neobanks or maybe also Apple, Samsung Pay, Google Pay that you have on your phone. Also the way currencies and contracts are managed. You might have heard of Bitcoin, blockchain, it's a big word here. There's also the way you invest online digitally, right? And there is a lot of work on trying to predict how the stocks are moving, so predictive modeling based on big data, but also online financing. There might even be a time when banks that are traditionally lenders in the market that give you, for example, a mortgage, would be cut out of this sector entirely by online lending and crowdfunding. So huge upheaval in that industry, and you can see there's a growing need for IT professionals that not only know IT, but also have more targeted informatics skills that blend IT with banking. For example, people that have knowledge about security, distributed systems, machine learning, data analytics, high-performance computing, with a view towards the application of these fields in the finance industry. So the Master in Financial Technology and Computing at USI, our FinTech Master, is the only program in Europe that's specifically targeting informatics students, so people with a bachelor in informatics and related degrees. So there are actually a handful of programs, less than a handful of programs worldwide, and only USI's Master in Europe so far. So what does that mean? Typically, a FinTech program in most universities is run by the business schools. So it has a very heavy focus on finance, and informatics is only getting a very short shrift. I mean, you basically learn programming 101, and that's about it. No advanced topics in informatics are actually part of that program because it targets us, people with a finance background. So USI is actually the only program that focuses on advanced IT skills that are necessary to excel in this fast-growing sector. Obviously, Switzerland is the natural place for a FinTech program. It has a very traditional banking sector, so it's very strong in banking and finance. It's actually also one of the worldwide hubs for fintech innovation. I'm not sure if you know of the blockchain called Ethereum. That was something started in Zurich, actually. So that's an indication of the strength of this hub here in Switzerland. Now, as of last year, there were over 300 fintech startups in Switzerland. Here are just a few of them listed, many of them in Zurich, some of them also actually in Lugano, of course, also in Geneva. And last but not least, of course, our program is endorsed by the Swiss Finance Institute, which is a professional organization here in Switzerland that gives you lots of networking opportunities to our graduates throughout the entire 2-year program. And if you take a sufficient number of credits here, you also get to have an SFI approved degree in the end. So how does the program work? It's important that it has this focus on IT, because that's what many employers in this sector are looking for. Here's a quote from Avaloq, which is one of the few fintech unicorns. A unicorn means it had a market capitalization of more than $1 billion. It's since been sold now to a Japanese conglomerate, NEC, to the tune of $2 billion. So this is a startup from Zurich in the fintech space, and they, their quote, "For Avaloq as a fintech company, USI's programs mix of finance and IT is exactly what we're looking for. We need graduates who have a solid understanding in both areas and can then deepen it in their working careers." So this is kind of the launching platform for USI's program, if you want. So how does it look like? Here's the bird's eye view. In the first year, you have foundational courses, both in finance and informatics, as well as the intersection of those two areas. So here is a list. In finance, you hear about financial econometrics, financial intermediation, investments and risk management. In informatics, you learn about distributed systems, high-performance computing, information security, and software quality and testing. And then at the intersection of these, we have classes on data analytics for finance, blockchains and digital currencies, trading, and market microstructures. So this is giving you the foundation in the first year, and then moving on, in the second year, you have then the chance to diversify slightly according to your interests. So we have a few electives there that allow you to focus slightly on specific areas in fintech, for example, mobile banking, but also high-speed trading would be examples. In fact, here are sample electives. If you're interested in mobile banking, you could take the class Mobile and Wearable Computing together with UX Design. If you're interested in algorithmic trading, you could take Financial Engineering and Software Performance. If you're interested in starting a startup, you could take the FinTech Ventures elective and the Project Management elective. If you're more into insurance products, you could take Service Design Marketing and Fixed Income Markets. And if you're interested in crowdsourcing, you could do Software Architecture and ERP. These are just a few examples of how you can then individualize your second year. Then we have at the end a 30 ECTS thesis. That can be a research thesis or an applied thesis, meaning you either write it with a research group here at USI, within scope of professor, or together with a local fintech company as an applied thesis. So here are some example theses you would work on from last year's graduate, Irene, Luca, Umberto, and Gianmarco. And for example, Irene worked on a research thesis called Performance of Multi-Partition Commands based on DBTK. What does that mean? It's really about improving the performance and reliability of web services that are replicated across many different machines. This is a traditional topic in computer science with a specific application, of course, in online banking. By replicating these services, you can have a continued service use even if one server dies or two fails. It's a key requirement, clearly, in online financial services. And Irene designed, implemented, and evaluated a novel protocol to remove bottlenecks in a well-known server replication approach. You have Luca, another research thesis. His work had the title Learning Jumpbox Jenkins Models for Financial Time Series Clustering. In short, that means he looked at evaluating a novel stochastic model to forecast financial markets. So forecasting really is all about taking in past observer data and then putting trajectories on there on how financial investments will develop both for making these investment and, of course, for policy making. And there's a novel class of these forecasting models called jump box Jenkins models. And he looked at how these models could be applied to stock market forecasting. Then Umberto worked actually in an applied thesis. His title was Designing a Third-Party Risk Management Solution to Maximize User Experience. He worked in the cybercrime group of a Big Four accounting company. And he looked at improving the usability for a novel risk management suite that the company was providing to their clients. So he basically improved a tool that company clients use in-house to assess the risk of a new customer. It's actually a legal requirement in many countries. And so Umberto conducted expert interviews, established the requirements for the tool, and designed interfaces and eventually tested it with end users, all together with this accounting company. And last but not least, Gianmarco, again, another applied thesis, but on a different end of the spectrum. His topic was blockchain bar gossip. He worked with a blockchain startup to improve the performance and reliability of their novel blockchain. Right? So blockchains is basically this foundational technology upon which Bitcoin is founded. And they use a certain protocol to exchange information between the different nodes. And bar gossip is a well-known protocol that he improved in order to understand how this gossip, this exchange of information across nodes can be improved there using the product that this blockchain startup was creating. So just these 4 examples of both research and applied, both user-facing and back-end-facing topics. Now, what does it take to be part of this experience? For this, because it's such an IT-heavy centered program, it requires a bachelor's degree in informatics or similar, so sometimes physics or engineering degree, you might have also had the necessary informatics background. If you have a different degree like economics or business, you may be admitted on a case-by-case basis, for example, using debits that provide you up to speed to the basic informatics skill set. As usual, you have an English requirement for this program. It's all English speaking, so you need to have a C1 advanced level certificate or had your bachelor degree taught in English or be a native speaker. If you have only a B2, you can be admitted with a view towards finishing your C1 certificate by the end of the degree program. The deadlines are, as all other informatics programs, July 31st. If you need a visa, the deadline is April 30. If you're interested in one of the many scholarships that USI provides, please also apply by July 31st. In fact, if you apply by July 15, your application will be given priority. More information can be found online, both on the website of the master program as well as the generic application landing page of USI. The website, you can find at www.mft.usi.ch. You'll find all the information about the program, all the details about the classes involved, and the admission requirements there as well. Of course, you can now ask your questions online, but if you forget a question or something, please feel free to reach out to myself or the Study Advisor Service. We are happy to take your questions also afterwards, both by mail or through the contact form of the website.